What's good, y'all? Last night, another domino of free agency has fallen. We now know where DeMar DeRozan will be going. He is headed to Sacramento in a sign and trade deal. This is a 3-team deal, so let's show the details so it's not too confusing. So, of course, you have DeMar DeRozan heading to the Sacramento Kings on his new deal. Harrison Barnes is getting rerouted to the Spurs, and they're getting a 2031 unprotected pick from the Sacramento Kings for facilitating this deal. And then the Bulls are getting back Chris Duarte and 2 second-round picks. The first thing I want to talk about is the actual deal that DeMar got. He signed a $76 million 3-year deal, so he's going to be getting paid a little bit above $25 million a year. And if you ask me, I feel like that's objectively a good deal for DeMar DeRozan. When there were the murmurs that he was looking to come over to Sacramento and they were going to try to figure it out, I was thinking he was going to be getting at least a contract that's in like the 30s, $30 million plus per year. But $25 million, that's very good production for a all-star caliber player. And because his contract is so team-friendly, it definitely changed my perspective on what DeMar in Sacramento would look like, before when I was just going based off the rumors. It's a lot better that they only had to give up Harrison Barnes. I know there was originally ideas that they would have to give up Harrison and maybe Kevin Huerter. I wouldn't like that as much, but only giving up Harrison, getting back someone as talented as DeMar, not terrible. The one thing I'm not too sure about is the fit. I don't know how DeMar will fit next to De'Aaron Fox, Sabonis, and the rest of the Sacramento Kings. When you look around the league, there's certain players that you can classify as plug-in players. The first few that come to mind are Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby. Shout out my Knicks for getting both of them. But guys that can play off ball very easily, high quality defenders, impactful basketball players that they don't need the ball always. They can just kind of impact the game in multiple different ways. Unfortunately, DeMar DeRozan is not like that. He is not very plug and play. Honestly, if you ask me, he's probably one of the least portable NBA players or NBA stars in the league. And that doesn't mean that he's a bad player by any means. DeMar is still a very talented player. I said before, all-star caliber player, an incredible scorer and everything like that. But he just isn't very plug and play. He needs the ball in his hands a lot to get his offense going. And unfortunately for him, on the Sacramento Kings, De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis have the ball in their hands a lot. Beyond that, though, the Kings really do like to have their offense being based on like space and pace. You spread out for the three-point shot, get the spacing going in the half court. When you have the opportunity, when you cause a turnover, whatever, push the pace, get out in transition, fast offense like that. You want to just shoot, shoot, shoot. That's what the Kings are like. DeMar, on the other hand, though, is very intricate with his dribbles. He will ISO you, get to the mid-range, get you in that post, hit you with a few dribbles, turn around, fade. He'll slow down the pace, get to his spots, and get a bucket. That's not a bad thing. He could maybe bring a little bit more of that to Sacramento for when they need those buckets and those opportunities. But I'm trying to think how he would fit in their normal offense of, space out the floor, De'Aaron Fox try to get to the rim, or, this just the fast-paced transition, get out there. DeMar DeRozan doesn't excel at that. And I don't want to seem like I'm piling too much on DeMar, but he is not a good defender on top of all of this. Being 33, 34, I don't really expect him to be a good defender. But when you're giving up Harrison Barnes, who, was a decent defender at bare minimum, for DeMar, who's a subpar defender, I don't really like it, especially when we're talking about in the playoffs. So many people are already getting on Sabonis for not being a shooter or a defender in the playoffs. When we look at DeMar, obviously he is a much better shooter than Sabonis, but he's still not a shooter and not a defender. So now they have 2 of those guys on their roster. I'm not too sure how much I like that. But at the end of the day, the Kings did get better. They did add talent to their roster. They're a competing team that is trying to, win a championship, make a deep playoff run, and adding a player like DeMar definitely helps you in the talent department. Where I'm not too sold on it is the fit. I don't really like the fit too much. But all in all, I don't think it's a terrible sign and trade. I was definitely surprised when I saw the Kings included a first-round pick in this trade, especially such a deep future first-round pick to the Spurs. Unprotected 2031. We don't know what the NBA is going to look like in 2031. That's a very far out, pick, and I don't really like that part of it. But all in all, it's not a terrible sign and trade. I usually don't give grades on these free agencies because I would want to see what it really looks like on the court. But if I had to give a grade right now, I'd probably give it a C. Since there are other teams involved in this sign and trade though, I'll give them a few minutes of my thoughts, on there. The Bulls getting back Chris Duarte in 2 seconds. Sign and trades, the team that is losing the player always seems to get screwed. I always think back to the most infamous one in my mind. It's when the Sixers traded Jimmy Butler to the Heat and they got back Josh Richardson. No disrespect to Josh Richardson, but that just goes to show you how lopsided these sign-and trades usually are. So getting back Chris Duarte, who was already an old rookie, and now he's getting even older now that he's been in the league for a few seasons. I don't really expect him to do too much. He could be a fun bench piece off this rebuilding Bulls team. And they get 2 seconds, better than nothing. Who I really think is the biggest winners in this whole ordeal is the San Antonio Spurs. I already mentioned they get that super future first round pick from the Sacramento Kings. They're just stockpiling as many assets as they can at this point. On draft night, they got those future picks from the Minnesota Timberwolves. Now they add another one. It's going to be really useful to have those on the roster when you really start to maximize Victor Wembanyama and try to build a perfect team around him. Having those draft picks is going to be incredible. But then also getting in a guy like Harrison Barnes. A lot of the things that I said about Chris Paul when they first signed Chris Paul, I really like the veteran presence that Harrison Barnes is going to bring to them. I think he's going to be able to really impact these young players, and Popovich, I really think that locker room is cultivating an amazing culture right now for these young guys. And then on the court, Harrison Barnes is going to be able to do some things that the Spurs needed. They needed spacing. He is a high quality 3-point shooter. They needed defense at that wing position. Harrison Barnes can provide that. I really do like this for the Spurs. Just being able to get this much value for just facilitating a deal is absolutely incredible in my eyes. Let me know what you guys think of this sign and trade though. Are you happy that DeMar DeRozan is back in Cali and playing for the Sacramento Kings? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Let me know down in the comments below. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave it a like, subscribe so you don't miss the next one. In the description, there's links to all my social medias, so make sure you follow me on all those to keep up to date with me. Catch y'all.